Italian battleship lovers rejoice. Giuseppe Verdi has sailed into Legends. It's an interesting and utterly unique battleship. Radar, SAP secondaries, and 9406 all thrown on a sleek and speedy Italian battleship hull. Initial impressions of this thing are pretty decent. Today, we are on Shards, and we're going to attract lots of attention in this shiny new campaign ship, which is always a favorite target on update day. Giuseppe in this match, though, is going to put up some big numbers on the board, so be sure to stick around and see how this one wraps up. It's a fight till the bitter end. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Derka. I'm an official community contributor for Wargaming on the North American server. Sometimes I forget this whole spiel because most of my viewers are pretty loyal, and I don't want to annoy them with this spiel every single video. But this ship was provided to me by Wargaming for review purposes. Now back to the match. You might notice there's no destroyers in this match. It's very unusual. I doubt I'm the only one that, when I play a solo battleship, it feels like there's always 5 enemy shimikazes on the enemy team, but without any DDs, it's a good opportunity to be aggressive, so we're going to go ahead and sail straight into CCAP to start getting some points. Giuseppe here can be pretty aggressive when she wants to be, and if there are DDs, she's covered because she has radar. But to get it, you lose the exhaust smoke generator that Lepanto and Marco Polo get. Both are really strong consumables for an aggressive battleship player, but radar is just super helpful to have for your team. You also have the option of sonar if you would, for any reason, ever choose that over the radar. The radar, though, is top-notch, 9.5 kilometers range with 35 seconds of duration. It's really, really strong. And before you play your first match, I would recommend going ahead and equipping it. Now, I also mentioned that we have SAP secondaries. Not quite as many as Lepanto. I think if I counted correctly, the Giuseppe is missing a couple of the triple 152 turrets. And with Lepanto having that exhaust smoke generator to help with brawling, it helped me decide to play this Italian Stallion more for accuracy. But really, I think you could spec it either way, and that's kind of the beauty of this ship. You could go for accuracy, or you could go for brawling and secondaries, and you could go for sonar, you could go for radar. There's just a lot of options with this ship that is pretty cool. When I set up a secondary build with Giuseppe and put D. Ravel on there, Haruna and Von Hipper, I had a 9.4 kilometer secondary range. So definitely viable, definitely pretty decent, and in terms of DPM output, it's comparable to the new lobotomized Lepanto. Now, just my personal opinion, I built her for mostly accuracy using Iachino, Cunningham, and D. Ravel. It makes this battleship pretty good at dealing with threats all around. Decent long range and mid-range guns, more mid-range I'd say. She's tanky and then radar to combat destroyers. It's not a bad build, but please do test the secondaries out and let me know in the comment section down below if it's working for you. Now the question one might be asking, is Giuseppe better than the Marco Polo? Because we already have a premium Italian battleship here at the tier that is very, very similar to this. So let's dig a little bit deeper and see. Compared to Marco, Giuseppe is less accurate. They have the same guns in the same setup. Marco's Sigma of 1.9 though just means the shells are going to group a lot better than Giuseppe's 1.7 Sigma. Both of them have Italian dispersion, so prepare yourself for some wild salvos at times. Luckily though, the reload can be brought down a little bit on Giuseppe by not having that main battery SAP module that Marco Polo might be using. Marco, with the main battery SAP shells, has a 36-second base reload, and that was painful. It's really one of the biggest reasons I didn't like Marco Polo, but here on Giuseppe it's 31 seconds base, I do believe. Now, you don't have to play Marco with the SAP main batteries. I just always did because it was that battleship's unique feature, and I wanted to test it out. It seems silly to play a unique ship and then not use what makes it unique. But either way, in the category of main guns, I'm going to put Marco Polo as number 1, Giuseppe Verdi in 2nd place, and then Lepanto in last place. Even with Lepanto's volume of fire, it has smaller guns and equally wonky accuracy with a 1.6 Sigma, and that just leaves me wanting to only brawl in Lepanto. Moving on though, the health pool doesn't look too impressive on Giuseppe Verdi, but you cannot forget about the heals. Aside from the Temeraire and the Marlboro, Giuseppe has the best heals at tier 8, so her effective HP pool is going to jump up to 4th place, making this a pretty tanky battleship indeed. On that note, the armor scheme is pretty good. Like Marco, I would call this a tanky battleship for sure. Strong deck armor, turtleback armor scheme. It can be pretty resilient. And one thing that we often gloss over when looking at ships is the torque production. So Giuseppe and Marco, they're pretty blah in this category. Actually, they're down in the 20% area. And Lepanto, worth pointing out, is very strong here with a 51% torque reduction. The match right now is pretty even. We took a nasty hit from a Montana across the map, but we have cleared out Seaside. We've killed the Minotaur, the Awami, and whatever else was over here. So now we're kind of heading towards the middle. There's a Petropavlovsk over here that, honestly, I think his controller just broke and he's stuck in reverse. God love him. But right now we're just trying to play it safe and not sail right into a crossfire. Sometimes it's good just to slow down, stop, and nothing wrong with sitting bow in just for a little bit. Giuseppe AA, it's kind of average, maybe a little worse than if you consider that her AA guns only shoot to 4 kilometers. But to make up for this, she's fast, and she can give you some options when it comes to just dodging. And a pretty small turning circle and a fast rudder shift also help. The Italian battleships, that's kind of their calling card. They feel like little sports cars, especially after playing things like the Republic or the Maine. It's really one of their better features, and Giuseppe Verdi does not disappoint there. In the concealment department, GV wins here again when compared to Marco and Lepanto, so not too shabby. So I haven't pointed it out yet, but for modules on this ship, I'm actually using the propulsion module. And maybe you can tell, but every time the Montana goes to fire another big heavy salvo at me, I'm trying to use the ship's acceleration to dodge those shells. It's something you can get away with, especially when you're fighting American ships at long range. It's pretty easy to just go ahead and accelerate and out-juke the shells, and it's been working pretty well. Even though we're heavily armored to that ship, the volume of fire and just the sheer damage the American heavy AP shells can do, it's pretty devastating. So when it comes to the rudder shift module or the prop mod, with battleships I typically always go towards the propulsion mod. It's just my personal preference. Now of course we've been sitting here bow in, and I don't recommend that for this ship, but it was just necessary to avoid sailing into a crossfire because of where the Petropavlovsk is positioned in his reversing state. So while we need to be heading to B for the points, we're actually going to turn out and go kind of deal with the Petro, take his attention, and then ping our teammates to go to B. Some of these cruisers with their better concealment, they can get into the B cap pretty easily, and we'll go deal with the Petro. You just cannot leave crossfires like that unchecked. Overall, Giuseppe seems to have a lot going for her, I feel like. My biggest complaint, of course, is the main battery is a little bit trolly. When you need a salvo to absolutely decimate an enemy, you'll bracket them. Or when shooting cruisers, you have a good chance of overpins. Of course, Italian BB shells have a pretty high velocity, and it makes them good at aiming at things at longer range, but it also means sometimes your shells will pass right through smaller ships without exploding. It's just part of that Italian BB life. If you're familiar with Italian BBs though, you should know what to expect and not be disappointed. Fans of Roma or Veneto, Marco Polo, I think you're really going to like this ship. And of course that fast shell velocity means that the penetration is good against more heavily armored targets. On the subject of the Lepanto nerf, I mean, it seems a little convenient that Lepanto was nerfed into the ground right as this ship shows up, but I do understand that the Lepanto was overperforming by quite a bit, so we are told. From my experience playing her, yeah, the secondaries were devastating, but personally it feels like too big of a nerf to me. I know Lepanto was crazy strong if you got her in range and in a good position, but that takes a lot of know-how, the right map, the right spawn, the right teammates, and the right enemies to cooperate. Not every game in a brawling secondary BB has you in the perfect position to just annihilate the enemy with secondaries. I would say there are plenty of matches when you won't even get to use your secondaries. So nerfing it like that, I don't know. I don't know, maybe it was just a little bit too much. On the other side of the spectrum, what if Giuseppe Verdi had entered the game with the same absurdly strong secondaries? Because if it came to the game like it is now, but Lepanto was not nerfed, everyone would just play Lepanto, of course. I'm just thinking of a world where Giuseppe, Lepanto, they have these crazy secondaries, and Tier 8 is just saturated with them. I wouldn't want to play Tier 8 if there were 5 Italian BBs on each team, everyone just rushing in to get their SAP secondaries off. So I get it's a balancing act, to keep everything healthy at the tier. I don't know, there's a lot to consider. I guess I would ask you guys, we have a lot of smart people in this community, how would you have handled the Lepanto nerf? Would you focus on the secondaries? Would you focus on the main battery? Would you nerf other aspects of the ship? I would love to hear from you guys. Leave it in the comment section down below. Well, Giuseppe, I'm going to give her 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think it is a pretty good ship and strong with her consumables, armor, speed, but other times I just found it being a little bit meh. It could be a skill issue, sure, but the accuracy combined with the reload of 406s make for uncomfortable combinations at times. I am, of course, curious what you guys think of her, so be sure to let me know down below, and be sure to leave a like if you found this video helpful. Well, I suppose the stars aligned for that salvo on that Tulsa, but let me tell you, shots like that seem to be the outlier with the Giuseppe Verdi. Maybe it's just my experience with her. You guys will have to see for yourself when you get her at the end of this campaign. But yeah, those shots are few and far between. Anyways, one last Tulsa here in front of us. We're going to see if we can climb up over 200k in the last few seconds of the game. I appreciate you guys sticking around for the video. Be sure to subscribe for future videos. We have another ship review hopefully coming this week. We'll see if we can get the Repulse reviewed, and that is going to wrap up this one. I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.